Hey guys, Pro1701 here. Today we're going to talk about 5 sci-fi franchises, the more spacefaring kind, like when you think about like Star Trek, Star Wars, stuff like that. 5 sci-fi franchises that I like in video game form, be it franchises that are specifically video game franchises or franchises that just have video games. I'm going to talk about 5 of them that I like and why. And these aren't in any particular order. Number 1 is Star Fox, Nintendo's space shooter franchise. I tend to love, especially the first 2 Star Fox games. I love the original Super Nintendo Star Fox. It's actually probably my favorite. Its graphics were revolutionary for the time. It's impressive the Super Nintendo was able to do that. It's a lot of fun. It's got different paths that equate different difficulties. It's got a couple hidden little Easter eggs. It's got a neat shortcut and then another really weird shortcut. It's a lot of fun in it. The controls are tight. And it's the game that got me into Star Fox. And it's got a really good soundtrack, great voice work, what little bit we get of in it. It's a really fun, revolutionary Super Nintendo game. And then, of course, I love Star Fox 64. That's probably the one people would consider the gold standard. And it and the original are really close. It pretty much takes everything from the original and just expands on it. The graphics, again, look really good for the 64. The controls are really nice. It's a lot of fun to go through. The levels have a wide variety to them. Again, you have these different difficulty paths. And depending on objectives you do during the missions, that can affect which path you take. So you don't always get to take the path you necessarily want. Maybe you were trying to take this way, but you didn't quite meet an objective. You went the other way. It's got some fun boss battles. It's got a couple really difficult boss battles, a couple different endings. It's really good. Now, I think the games since 64 haven't lived up to it. It was nice to check out the unreleased Star Fox 2 finally. I'm not a big fan of it, but I was happy they released it. I didn't really like Adventures much. It was interesting. I'll give it props for trying to do something different, but it's very obvious it wasn't originally a Star Fox game. It didn't really do much for me. I never finished it. What was the one after that? Assault? Star Fox Assault, is that the name of it? Was fine. I didn't mind it. It's kind of like a generic Star Fox, like the Walmart brand Star Fox, but it was fine. I beat it. I enjoyed it. The story mode was fine. C plus, B minus. I thought it was all right. I've only went through it once or twice, so I don't have like the nostalgic memories of it like I do the first 2. Zero sucks, and it's completely down to the control setup. If they had done Zero with with traditional controls, I think it would have been a really fun game. I loved it graphically. The story seemed fun, but I could not adapt to that control setting. I have very bad hand-eye coordination, and that weird control setup that they forced basically on you just ruins the game. It just absolutely ruins the game. And excuse me. I don't think they've really done much with Star Fox since, sadly. I would like to see it make a comeback, but only if it was more like one of the first 2 games. Next on the list is Halo, the Halo franchise. I love Halo. The gameplay is really fun. And some of the gameplay from the first couple games is a little dated, like not having a sprint button drives me crazy. Getting in the first one, the boards look so repetitive that it's easy to get turned around and lost. It's very annoying. It's really hard to go back and play Combat Evolved, to be honest. But what really sells me on Halo is the story. Halo has a fantastic story, especially the early games, but even the later games, the story's fine. I've enjoyed all of the Halo games, all of the mainline games, up to this point, including Infinite, I enjoyed. Although going from 5 to Infinite, there's like this whole, can't stop yawning today. Like this whole chapter I missed out on, which I'm guessing might have been Halo's War 2, and I really don't like them doing that. But it's a lot of fun. I do love how the gameplay has improved. I mean, the gameplay of the older Halos was great for their time, but it is a little dated in places. But I do love how the newer games have updated it. Like, say what you want about Halo 4, Halo 5, and Infinite story-wise, but the actual gameplay is fun. I love running around. The way the control buttons are mapped, running around. The actual gameplay works well. I really liked Reach a lot. I got to play Reach for the first time in like 2021 and had a ball with it. I've actually gone through it a couple times actually. Me and my best friend co-opted at one time, and then me and one of my other friends, we co-opted at one time, and it was a really fun game. We had a really good time with it. Really like the Halo franchise, even though you're mostly on the ground and not really in space. It's just such a well-crafted story. Next on the list is the Star Wars games. Now, Star Wars games are, of course, hit or miss, but the good ones really are good. I enjoyed the Super Star Wars games for the Super Nintendo. I don't go back to them much now, but I loved them back in the day, especially Super Empire Strikes Back. That was my favorite. Those were a lot of fun. I really enjoyed the Jedi Knight games. Well, I never played Dark Forces, or Dark Forces 2. I'm not really a PC gamer. But I loved Jedi Outcast and Jedi Academy. Those were so much fun. I enjoyed the story modes and the little battle mode where you could battle against bots, you know, little computer controlled bots. I enjoyed that. I used to play that a lot. Excuse me. If I got bored with the story mode, I'd just set up a gameplay with the bots, and I could spend hours just playing against the bots. It was so much fun. Especially in Outcast. I enjoyed it in Academy as well. But those were both really well-made games. And I liked how it switched from first person to third person, depending on whether you were using your saber or not. And just, I got a kick out of Kyle Katarn as a character as well. Then, of course, you had both of the Knights of the Old Republic games. Knights of the Old Republic is my favorite Star Wars game of all time. I was there in 2003 when it came out, which is hard to believe it's 20 years ago. I was in college at the time. I remember being up until 1 or 2 in the morning when I know I had class the next day, playing KOTOR. I played KOTOR so much. I went through, beat it light side, immediately had to go through and beat it dark side. So much fun. And I love KOTOR 2 as well. Knights of the Old Republic 2 is good, and it made some nice quality of life improvements as well. It is, you can tell the game wasn't 100% finished and that they had to rush it. I'll be honest, that's obvious, especially at the end of the game. Once you're on Malachor 5, it turns into a boring slog, honestly, with the final fight not being interesting. And I really hate, I really hate that they never updated that for consoles, that you have to, and I'm not a PC gamer, so I've never really got to play it with all of the lost stuff restored. I wish I could. But it's still a really good game. It does have a really good story, despite the ending being a bit nerfed. I enjoyed Jedi Power Battles on the PS1, the post-Episode 1 game. That was really fun. It hasn't aged well, but for its time, I found it really, really fun. Although Mace Windu having a blue lightsaber is still weird. I enjoyed, what is it called? I can't remember the name of it now. They did 2 of them, and then they've also done 2 more in recent years where you play as the Stormtroopers. Battlefront, that's what I'm thinking of. I loved the old Battlefront 2, the one from like 2005. That one was really fun. I used to play that one a lot as well. There's so many good Star Wars games out there. There's so many. I also really liked Fallen Order a lot. I haven't played Jedi Survivor yet, but Fallen Order was really, really fun. Next on the list is Metroid. I love the Metroid franchise. It is my second favorite gaming franchise of all time. I was little when the original Metroid dropped back in the 80s. That was the first Metroid game I ever played, and I still have a nostalgic soft spot for the original Metroid. It's still my second favorite Metroid game. I prefer the original Metroid over Zero Mission any day. Any day. That Kraid fighting Zero Mission's annoying. Now, I do like Zero Mission. It's a good game. I really enjoy Fusion. I tend to like the Prime games, especially the first one. I think they transitioned Metroid into 3D really, really well. I love how isolated and alone Samus is, especially in the best games. The one to pull that off the best, I think, is Super Metroid, which I do think is the best Metroid game. I love Super Metroid. I love it graphically. I love the music in it. I love the sound. It really gives you this sense of isolation and being alone and having no help. And, you know, Samus is very much this lone wolf hunter. At least that's how she's supposed to be. And just everything that happens in Super Metroid is just perfect. It's such a good game. But I like Fusion. I haven't played Dread. or the remake of Return of Samus. The Return of Samus was kind of, and I haven't played, has there been one since Dread? I don't think so. But the older ones are fantastic. Even Echoes. Corruption was all right. I've only played through it once, but Echoes was good. I liked Echoes, except for that Spider Guardian battle. But Metroid's a fun series with a great protagonist. And number 1 on the list is Mass Effect. I love Mass Effect. It's like the video game version of Star Wars. It's just this epic story, much like Star Wars is, or like Dune is. You know, it's just or Lord of the Rings. It's just this epic story that just happens to be a video game franchise, and it is well written. The characters are well developed and well rounded, and the voice actors playing them do such a good job. Everybody has their own distinct personality, and the fact that your first game carries over to your second game, carries over to your third game, it feels like you are on one long adventure. Graphically, they look impressive. The gameplay is fun. And they get progressively better from game to game. And the Legendary Edition really does work out some of the problems with the first game that it had. Driving around in the Mako is actually fun now. I still don't care for the little hammer flying thing in the second and third game, but the Mako is a lot better. It's a great story. Each game has a fun ending. It's just a fun cast of characters. I love the Mass Effect trilogy. I don't really care for Andromeda much. I didn't even finish it, but I love the Mass Effect trilogy so much. It's one of my favorite gaming franchises as well. And Jennifer Hale just nails female shepherd. I'm almost always female shepherd. Sometimes male shepherd, but almost always female shepherd. With several different classes that change up your gameplay. I've probably played through Legendary Edition 5 or 6 times. I absolutely love Mass Effect. If you're looking for a good, epic space video game franchise and story to play the Mass Effect Legendary Edition. So those are 5 sci-fi franchises I like video games of. I want to know what you think of these. Comment down below and let me know. Don't forget to click the like button and the subscribe button and the bell for notifications. I also have a P.O. box if there's anything you'd like to send me to look at and review. I have a Patreon as well. You can find a link to that down in the description. I want to give a shout out to some of my top tier patrons, Stephen Crane, Colin Coney, and Finn Perkins. I appreciate their support, as I do the support of all of my patrons. Check out my main channel, Another Sci-Fi Guy, where I talk about all things Doctor Who, and most importantly, thank you for watching.